and we are live in Studio A, presented by the Greater Columbus Arts Council now with Will Hoge. Welcome back.
Good to see you again.
It's been a while, almost a decade, and been here a few times and back out on the road with Sweet Misery, and tonight's the show over at Scully's. Had a little change going on there because of the Athenaeum Theater, so it is, if you haven't heard the news, which you probably have, it is at Scully's. And show tonight with Possessed by Paul James. And we'll hear something from him after this live session and give some tickets away after each song that Will's going to do with us, joined by John Wiley this afternoon. Thank you both. And Scully's the place tonight. 6:30 doors and 7 o'clock show start. Details at celebrityetc.com. Let's hear a song and then we'll come back and catch up.
Let's do it. This is the title track from that new record. It's called Sweet Misery. It's coming down hard tonight. I'm talking to this TV like it's an old friend of mine. I stumbled down the rabbit hole, place where any sane man knows he shouldn't go. Oh, gently she comes to me, I bite the hook again. Oh, wolf in sheep's clothing, she reaches for my hand. Misery, sweet misery, when no one else is hanging round. Oh, I know that I can always count on her to be right by my side, keeping me somewhat satisfied. I'm chased around upstairs and down, she's always loved to dance. I run the risk of losing it, but I still take the chance. Oh, misery, sweet misery. If I knew what's good for me, I would wish her fond farewell. But I've learned to stay one step away from tripping on her spell. Misery, sweet misery, my misery, sweet misery. My misery, sweet misery, my misery.
It's Will Hoge live from Studio A, and tonight is the show at Scully's. Doors are at 6:30 to get your place at Scully's Music Diner before Possessed by Paul James takes the stage at 7. Caller number 3 wins a pair of tickets right now at 614-821-9223. We're live on the air and also live on Facebook and YouTube. And if you can't watch it now, you can check it out later on our website if Will approves of what happens here.
Already approved. Yeah, we're all good.
What happens here today. But Sweet Misery, the title track to your brand new album, and recently re-recorded your first album, Carousel, and also re-recorded Blackbird on a Lonely Wire. And after doing those albums, did you find yourself for album 15, which this is, wanting to do something different than you initially planned? Or did it stay?
Yeah, you know, this album, Sweet Misery, had started with, I had a batch of songs, and no real band. I had my bass player, Chris, that's played with me for a long time. And the rest of the guys had kind of moved on to other things. And so I had my friend Mark Macefield, who's now the piano player in the band, who I'd met through production work with my pal Dave Hawes on a bunch of his records. And my friend Eric Hall, who is a Columbus guy, actually plays with a band called Red Wanting Blue. I had those two guys come down to Nashville, and we started working on what I thought was going to be a new record, but I wasn't really sure what that was. Mm-hmm. And we got 4 or 5 songs kind of working, and then took a break to tour, and then I came back and I redid those first 2 records, and it kind of refocused. I was like, oh, I want this next record to really be a full band rock and roll exploration again, kind of like those early records that I had done. And so I reassembled some guys. We came in, we finished the 4 or 5 songs that we had done with Eric and Mark, and then recorded other stuff, to complete the rest of the album.
Yeah, that sounds so great.
It was real fun.
And well, let's go back to where it all started. If folks don't remember from the first time, and you've probably said this many a times, where it first started with your dad's record collection. And tell us about going A to Z and finding one John Prine through the middle of all that.
Yeah, that was one of there were these moments. My father still has this impeccable record collection. I'd say all the time, it's every great record that was recorded from 1963 to 1979 or 81, probably. I mean, really, it's all genres, all sorts of things, perfectly alphabetized, and that was at my fingertips as a kid. And
how old were you when you started going through those records?
Oh, I was probably 12.
Okay.
And really starting to fall in love with rock and roll. And so there were these things, and as I got through the A's and B's and kind of worked my way up, you get to the middle part of the alphabet, your L's and M's, and you can start to feel like I can truly judge an album by its cover at this point. 12-year-old me thinks I've got it all figured out. And
of course.
Yeah, I got to P, and I pulled out a record by a guy named John Prine. And I remember looking at the cover and thinking at the time that, he's sitting on a hay bale and he's wearing double denim and there's an acoustic guitar, and this is definitely going to be a record that I do not like. And I put it on, and
because there were some doozy covers back then, right?
Yeah, there's some things that, there are other things you see and you're like, this is going to be terrible, and I was usually right. But that was one, just instantly, even as a kid, the stories, there was a simplicity to the depth of the songs, which is still pretty magical to me. It's a hard way to write songs, and he was truly a master at it. And so by the end of side A, I had come downstairs and I was like, Dad, who is John Prine? And he kind of giggled and gave me the Cliff's Notes version of, who he was and what he represented and all those. And I went back up and finished side B and was instantly hooked. That was a game changer for me.
And do you remember anything he said at that young of age about John Prine? Just that.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because at the time, I discovered music through the radio. Still, I mean, I was a radio kid. I spent a lot of my time just in front of the radio, or then these records. And you didn't hear John Prine on the radio,
right.
Or at least not the stations that I was listening to at 12 years old. And I remember my dad saying, this is a songwriter's songwriter, and he's one of these guys that you hear. I think at the time he was getting ready to, in the next year or so, Prine put out a record where he had Bruce Springsteen singing on it, and he had Tom Petty singing on it, and one of the guys from Petty's band had produced the record, and so he was just one of these guys that and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band was recording versions of his songs and having him play on Will the Circle Be Unbroken Volume 2, and another record that was really seminal for me. And so yeah, that was interesting. It was like there's this whole career path for people that aren't just on MTV or mainstream,
right.
Pop top 40 radio. And so that was incredible. Like the songs were the focus, not the image per se. And that was pretty eye-opening.
And had you started writing on guitar yet at this point, or did you get a guitar after?
No, I got a guitar much later. I didn't get a guitar till I was 17 years old. But I think I started my love affair with music deepened a lot in those next 5 years. I mean, I think I started thinking that I could write songs But I was really terrified of how to do it. And then there's a vulnerability in it that I was just not really ready to face. But then got a guitar and started doing it pretty quick.
And it's worked out well for you.
And I mean, I'm not complaining. Yeah.
But so sad that we did lose John Prine, and we were lucky enough to have him in here 30 years ago,
wow.
and just still one of our favorites. And
Yeah.
sadly, we lost Todd Snyder, who was a close friend, and
Yep.
was on his label, Oh Boy Records. And being in Nashville, I know there's circles and tons of great music, and you've been there almost your whole life.
Whole life, yeah.
And he was there for many years. How well did you know him?
Todd? Pretty well. When I first started playing on my own, I quit school and came back home in 92 and started, playing in bands and really trying to focus on doing this. And then around the time I started my solo thing where I wasn't going to be just the singer in bands anymore, my first guitar player was a guy named Dan Baird, who was the guitar player and singer in the Georgia Satellites, and then had his own great solo career. And he was my first guitar player, and still just a great confidant and friend, collaborator. He was splitting time in a version of Todd's Nervous Wrecks when we started playing together. And so we met then, right around the time I had made Carousel. And I've told this story a couple times the last few days just because it's, obviously relates to that. Todd was just a handful of years older than me, but was in that crop of musicians that were just a couple of turns ahead. He already had a record deal, and he was he was a little bit like the Prine thing. I mean, people were talking about his songs and his songwriting, and everybody was kind of turned on to it, which was cool. And Dan told me at one point we were going to do a show together. And he said, I'd given a copy of the record to Todd, and I thought, oh God, what? It's always nervous, somebody that you like and admire comes back and goes, hey, your record really stinks, And Todd came back and he gave me a big hug. It was the first time we'd met, and he goes, dude, I heard your record, and I got to tell you, he said, everybody's going to talk about how they hear the Van Morrison in it, but I'm going to talk about how I hear the Van Halen in it.
Nice.
And I thought that was really cool. It made sense, and I thought that it was cool that he had actually taken the time to listen. And then over the years, we had lots of great interaction. I mean, he was really one of the most encouraging people to so many folks, especially people that he loved. And it's really, he had his own things that he dealt with, obviously, and that's not mine to talk about. But I think outside and to so many others, he was just never anything other than kind and supportive and really sweet and fun.
It is Will Hoge joining us live from Studio A. Thank you for sharing that story. And we'll have some more tickets to give away after this next song. And the third song that they're going to do for us with John Wiley joining Will Hoge this afternoon. Sweet Misery is the latest album. And we'll talk about ditching Will Hoge and the Something Somethings after this song. What are you going to do next?
Well, it was just calling an audible here to my friend John Tyler Wiley. After we've talked about John Prine, we should play this song called John Prine's Cadillac.
Nice. Yay.
Goes like this. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes. Jesus Christ ain't gonna save us. Be careful, or this old world will make us crazy as a three-legged mule. I bake the biscuits brown and easy. Fried chicken all nice and greasy. Every time she comes round here and sees me, I'm shaking like a love-drunk fool. 'Cause I'm smiling like a sinner on a month without Sundays. I guess I'm pretty alright. Put it in a postcard, tell the whole world that I'm just fine. And I'm skipping like a flat rock, sailing across the water, shining like the ramen stained glass. Happy as the music coming out of the speakers in the back of John Prine's Cadillac. Rolling slow, humming a song, I keep my Christmas tree lit up all year long. You got me smiling bigger than Cheech and Chong, my heart banging like two boots in a dryer. I roll the dice and I can't lose. I got wings on my fingers and wings on my shoes. If I try to sing them lovesick blues, everybody will know that I'm alive. Cause I'm smiling like a sinner on a month without Sundays. I guess I'm pretty alright. Put it in a postcard, tell the whole world that I'm just fine. Cause I'm skipping like a flat rock, sailing across the water, shining like a diamond stained glass. Happy as the music coming out of the speakers in the back. John Prine's Cadillac. Come on, John. Like a sinner on a month without Sundays. I guess I'm pretty alright. Put it in a postcard, tell the whole world that I'm just fine. Oh, I'm skipping like a flat rock, sailing across the water, shining like the diamond stained glass. Happy as the music coming out of speakers in the back of John Prine's Cadillac.
And John Wiley live from Studio A, presented by the Greater Columbus Arts Council with John Prine's Cadillac. So you may have guessed I'm going to ask you when you saw John Prine in his Cadillac in Nashville.
Well, yeah, in my early mid-20s, I was living back home and driving a big old green Dodge van that my band toured in, and I was cruising down 8th Avenue and I pulled up to a red light and looked to my left, and in a really cool Mercedes was Vince Gill, and he turned, and I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, that's just Vince Gill. I was like, Nashville can't get any cooler. 2 blocks later, red light, same side of the street. I look over, and there's John Prine in a big, shiny Cadillac. And he was listening to music, and I could see him tapping on the steering wheel. And he had big sunglasses on and kind of just grinning and grooving. And I thought, you know, what is he listening to that makes him feel the way that listening to John Prine feels for all of us? And he turned, and I never asked. And, you know, over the years when we would get to see one another, play shows together, he was another one that was just always so kind and welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
But I never got the guts to ask. So then, but I carried that story around forever. And then when he passed, that song came out pretty quickly afterwards.
I love it. I love it. And before you went solo, and you decided, I don't need no Will Hoge and so-and-so or whatever, the car, you know, whatever you want to say. But what made you decide that? Was it about Dylan? Dylan can do it. So
I mean, and not by any means am I comparing myself to Bob Dylan, of course. But yeah, it was, I had been in bands, and I always thought that that was the thing to do. And I was writing the songs, I was hanging the flyer. I feel like I was doing more work as people did less work. And then the people would leave, and you'd have to rename the band every time. And I was so tired of it. And I went with a friend of mine to see the first Dylan show that I ever saw. It was at Municipal Auditorium in Nashville. And he came out and played, and he just had this really fantastic band. It played like a band. It functioned like a band. Everybody was incredibly musical, and he led this circus for 2 hours. And I really did. I was like, well, that's the thing right there. It doesn't have to be a band name. It's like Bob Dylan just goes and plays shows, and people show up, they want to hear the song. Sometimes he's by himself, sometimes he's with a band, sometimes he's with a different band. And yeah, that was a pretty revelatory moment. Yeah.
And, you know, you're the star of the show, right? You don't
Well, I mean, John's a pretty big star of the show. And the other guys are pretty big stars of the show. But, I mean, my name's on the marquee for sure. Somebody's got to pay the gas to get there, and I'll do that. But, yeah.
And I saw the Otis Gibbs, who we love too, the interview and telling about meeting Dylan. Mm-hmm. Will you share that story with us and how you covered the song? Yeah,
I was doing a record in 2000, or late 2003, early 2004. It came out in 2004, called the America EP. It was the first thing I had done since Blackbird and leaving the major label. It was kind of politically tinged, and so the label and I decided that it was better for me to go make my own records. And so we holed up at the studio in Mississippi and recorded a bunch of songs. And then in the middle of the night one night, I sat on the porch with a guitar, and we recorded a version of The Times They're Changing. And there's crickets in the background. It was real noisy, but it was just kind of a cool moment, and it felt nice on the record. And so we were going to put it out, and my manager said, well, we got to reach out to Dylan's people. And often he's pretty notorious for not granting rights for things and all that. Or it was going to be, and I was like, it could be $1 million, and obviously we're not going to pay that. So, and he said, and it could be months, before we even hear anything. So we just can't plan on putting it on the record. He said, but I'll reach out. And so he reached out, and it couldn't have been 36 hours later. My manager called, and he was kind of giggly, and he goes, you're not going to believe this. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I heard back from Dylan's people. And I was like, okay. And he said, they're totally cool with you using the song. He said, they are going to charge us a fee. And so I was like, okay, how much? And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember it was the most arbitrary, random, small number. It was like $19.83. And I just thought to myself, like, what's the algorithm that's calculating that number? And in my mind, Dylan's manager calls Dylan, and he's like looking through a fishing catalog or whatever, and there's like a lure that he wants, and it was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we'll give the kid access. It's $19.83.
Right.
And it's like, cool. And that was it. We wrote him a check for $19.83 and put it on the record. It was crazy.
So, yeah, what was the thought process?
No idea. I mean,
right.
I still don't know, and I kind of hope I never find out, but I would also love to know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And so he let you do that. And is there a favorite Dylan? Oh, first the tour. I think that's one tour I saw with Brian Setzer. Your first tour.
That was the one I saw.
That same tour,
Incredible
Never-Ending tour, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it was at Betts Memorial. Gosh, 20.
How was the show you saw?
Oh my gosh, amazing! And Dylan, my boss and I, we'll see Dylan no matter. He's had the good days and the bad days,
totally.
right? But I'll never miss it if I don't have to.
Yeah.
But that with Brian Setzer too, opening, what a great.
And it was cool because I'd heard and I was still so young and naive into this business, and I loved Dylan, and those records, were life changers for me. But you hear all the stories about, well, you just never, like, sometimes he just stands and he mumbles and he never looks at the crowd, and you hear all of these negatives. And the show that I saw was polar opposite. I don't know if the whole tour was that way, but the show I saw that night was incredibly joyful. He sang beautifully, really clearly. Played, the set list was immaculate. He duck walked at one point, like Chuck Berry across the front of the stage. Like, I was like, what?
I don't know if I saw that here.
It was amazing.
That is.
It was really a pivotal show for me. Yeah.
And so you did meet him, actually.
Yeah. Later, I was with Holly Williams, and I went to see him at some little place in Mississippi. We drove down, and she knew him. And he came by, and I had toured some with his son Jacob and the Wallflowers. We had done a long tour together with John Mellencamp years ago. And so I don't know if there was a connection there or from the $19.83 for the fishing lure. But yeah, he came by. It was shortly after my first record had come out, and he said hello, and he said, I love the line about the $55 hair. And
that he knew that.
That's what he said. And then he walked away, and I was like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again,
take it.
I don't know if he meant it or not, but it meant a lot to me.
But how would he know that? That would be so great.
Yeah, it was cool. It was very cool.
And he just took off.
Yeah, pretty much. Exactly like that.
It's like Prince would do something,
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great to see you again.
Let's
not wait 10 years to do it again.
All right. And yeah, just so happy to have you back, and congratulations on everything, and just keep on doing what you're doing. And speaking of doing what you're doing, going to college, this wasn't really the plan when you went to Kentucky. Was it Western
Kentucky?
Western Kentucky.
Yeah.
And the plan then was to be a history teacher and a basketball coach.
That's right.
When did that plan shift?
When I found out you had to have a certain GPA to graduate college to get a teaching degree.
I'd do the same
It
thing.
shifted pretty quick at that point. Yeah,
Well, basketball, you're still a fan?
I am.
Do you still like to?
I do. Yeah, I still
up on the
fancy
game?
myself being able to get out and play a little bit.
Nice.
And I'm okay in the moment. The next day is usually a little tougher. But
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
it's great to see you.
And thank you again for being here. And caller number 4 at 614-821-9223. Oh, and what's the deal with the giant lollipop?
Well, it's sweet, and if you eat enough of them, it causes misery. So it works out pretty well.
Right. I won one of these when I was a little girl at
Yeah.
whatever Halloween contest, and I guessed how many those little candy corns were in
Yeah.
the jar.
And
It
you want a
always reminds
lollipop.
me of-
Well, you
yeah.
can buy. We actually sell them at the merch table now, so we'll get you
Nice.
one tonight. You
All
don't even have to
right.
guess anything.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's hear this last one, and we'll
Yeah,
do our final
let's do it.
giveaway.
It's
Thanks
called-
for spending so much time with us today.
Great. Thanks for having us. This is called Another Planet. 1, 2, 3, 4. That motel in the desert felt your heartbeat through your chest. Talked about forever, and I forgot the rest. Picking up the pieces, you were changing up the plan. Orbiting around the truth, getting lost with you again. Oh, I need another planet, 'cause I can't make it through. Tried to stick the landing, but it broke me right in two. How lonely would the ocean be in a world without a moon? I wouldn't want to live in a world without you. Static on the TV, slow dancing with despair. I held on by a promise while you held me by a prayer. You chained the door and said you're staying, and you said you always will. That night scares me half to death when I think about it still. Oh, I need another planet, 'cause I can't make it through. Tried to stick the landing, but it broke me right in two. How lonely would the oceans be in a world without a moon? I wouldn't want to live in a world without you. If I was gone, I wouldn't last one day. No, I'd have to find some other place. Oh, I need another planet, 'cause I can't make it through. Tried to stick the landing, but it broke me right in two.